Welcome to the Reseller Nation Network, where hustlers and dreamers unite to ignite fires that build empires. This channel is your daily destination for unlocking powerful strategies, guides, and essential tools to turn ambition into achievement. Hosted by the dynamic duo, Dream King, the King Dreamer, and Hustle Queen, the Queen Hustler.
Welcome to the Reseller Revolution podcast of the Reseller Nation Network, where hustlers and dreamers unite to ignite fires that build empires. I'm Dream King, the King Dreamer.
And I'm Hustle Queen, the Queen Hustler.
In today's episode, we auction off our death piles on storagetreasures.com. Welcome back to another episode of the Reseller Revolution podcast, where we drop game on turning everyday opportunities into profit. I'm your host, Dream King, alongside the Queen of Hustle herself, Hustle Queen.
And today we're diving into the world of storage unit auctions, but from the seller's side. Most people know about bidding on storage lockers, but did you know that you can actually sell your own storage units through storagetreasures.com? It's a real game changer for resellers looking to liquidate inventory, or even side hustlers cleaning out space.
That's right. Whether you've got leftover inventory, abandoned items, or just a unit full of stuff you need to get rid of, Storage Treasures lets private sellers auction their units, just like the big storage companies. So today, we're breaking down how to list, manage, and maximize profits as a storage unit seller.
First up, for those who don't know, let's break down what storagetreasures.com actually is. This platform is the go-to marketplace for online storage unit auctions. It's been around for over a decade and is used by big-name storage facilities, but what a lot of people don't know is that it's also open to private sellers, people just like you and me.
Yeah, most people hear storage unit auctions and think about those reality TV shows where bidders roll up to an in-person auction, peek inside, and start throwing out cash offers. But things have changed. With Storage Treasures, everything is online. You list a unit, people bid from their phones or computers, and the highest bidder wins, just like eBay but for storage lockers.
And that means more buyers, more competition, and potentially bigger profits. Instead of relying on a handful of people showing up to an in-person sale, you have access to thousands of bidders from all over the country. Some are resellers, some are collectors, and some are just looking for good deals.
Exactly. And here's the thing. Storage Treasures isn't just for storage facility owners auctioning off abandoned units. Private sellers like resellers, business owners, estate liquidators, or even everyday people looking to downsize can use this platform to move inventory fast.
That's a game changer because let's be real, selling large amounts of inventory piece by piece takes forever. eBay, Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, they all work, but it's time-consuming. You have to take dozens of photos, write out descriptions for every single item, and deal with buyers who haggle, flake, or back out at the last minute. With Storage Treasures, you're selling in bulk, one auction, one sale, one buyer, and you're done.
Facts. And let's talk about some real-life situations where this makes sense. Maybe you're a reseller who's been flipping items for a while, but you've got an overflow of inventory that's just sitting. Instead of spending weeks trying to sell each item individually, you throw it all in a storage unit, snap some photos, list it on Storage Treasures, and let buyers battle it out in a bidding war.
Or what if you're running a liquidation business? Maybe you buy pallets of overstock items, but instead of cherry-picking the best stuff, you can package up an entire unit and auction it off as a mixed lot. That way, you keep your business moving and free up space for new inventory without wasting time selling the smaller, less valuable stuff one by one.
And let's not forget estate liquidations or moving sales. Maybe you inherited a house full of items, or you're downsizing and don't want to deal with a yard sale or Craigslist. Storage Treasures lets you sell everything at once. You get paid, and the buyer clears it out. No stress, no negotiations, just a clean break.
And speaking of clean breaks, what about landlords? If you own rental properties and tenants leave behind a bunch of stuff, Storage Treasures is a perfect way to clear it out and make money in the process. Instead of paying to haul it away, list it for auction and let a buyer do the work.
So whether you're a reseller, estate seller, liquidation business, landlord, or just someone with too much stuff, Storage Treasures can work for you. It turns clutter into cash, fast and easy. And the best part, no shipping required. The buyer picks everything up, No packing, no mailing, no dealing with returns.
Exactly. Now, you might be wondering, how do you get started? What do you need to set up your first storage auction? Well, stick around because next we're breaking down how to set up your Storage Treasures seller account, list your unit, and start making money.
Alright, so now that we've covered why StorageTreasures.com is such a game changer for private sellers, let's get into how to actually set yourself up and start auctioning off storage units like a pro.
That's right. If you're ready to turn that clutter, or extra inventory, into cash, the first step is setting up your seller account. Here's how to do it in just a few easy steps.
Step 1. Create your account. First things first, head over to StorageTreasures.com and create an account. It's free to sign up, but in order to sell, you'll need to register as a private seller. This requires a bit of extra verification, depending on your location.
And make sure you enter accurate contact information because Storage Treasures will send notifications about your auction, bidder questions, and final sale details via email or text.
Exactly. Once your account is set up, take a minute to explore the dashboard. You'll see auction listings, your account details, and most importantly, the Create Auction button. That's where the magic happens.
Step 2. Secure a storage unit. Before you can auction off a unit, you actually need a storage space. If you already have a storage unit filled with inventory, perfect. You're ready to go. But if not, you'll need to either rent a small unit or dedicate a space, like a garage or warehouse, where the items will be stored before the auction.
And this is important. Buyers are responsible for picking up everything from the unit, not from your house. So make sure the unit is in a location that's accessible and safe for buyers to come and clear it out.
And some storage facilities even allow you to rent a unit just for auctioning purposes. So it's worth asking around. If you're selling liquidation stock, estate items, or bulk inventory, having a dedicated space keeps everything organized.
Step 3. Gather and organize your inventory. Now that you have a space, it's time to fill it with auction-worthy inventory. And here's where strategy comes in. What sells best? A mix of valuable items alongside everyday goods.
Right. When buyers bid on a unit, they're looking for value. You want a mix of electronics, furniture, tools, appliances, vintage collectibles, brand name clothing, or sealed merchandise. Things that scream profit potential for resellers.
But don't just throw in random junk. Make sure the unit looks organized and appealing. If buyers see a mess, they'll assume it's full of worthless stuff and bid low. But if you set it up neatly, showing off key items, you'll drive up the bids.
Presentation is everything. Stack boxes neatly, showcase high-value items where they're visible, and make the space look like a hidden treasure chest rather than a trash pile.
Step 4. Take high-quality photos. Next, you need killer photos. And listen, this part is critical. Your pictures can make or break your auction.
Absolutely. Here are a few quick tips for taking great photos. Camera with flash, use good lighting. Natural light or a bright LED works best. Avoid dark, blurry shots. Camera with flash, show key items clearly. If you have a high-value item in the unit, make sure bidders can see it. Camera with flash, take multiple angles. Give bidders a full view of the unit. If possible, take a wide shot of the entire space, and then close-ups of interesting items. Camera with flash, avoid clutter. The better organized the unit looks, the higher the bids will go.
And don't edit too much. Bidders want to see the real deal, not a filtered Instagram version. Keep it honest, but make it look inviting.
Step 5. Write a detailed auction description. Now it's time to write your auction description. This is where you give buyers the details they need to feel confident placing a bid.
And you don't have to overcomplicate it. Just include these key details. Memo general overview. Briefly describe the contents of the unit, e.g., mixed lot of furniture, tools, household goods, and collectibles. Memo highlight valuable items. Mention anything valuable that stands out, e.g., includes a vintage record player, power tools, and a MacBook Air. Memo condition of items. If anything is new in box or gently used, call that out. Memo pickup rules. State how long the buyer has to pick up the items, usually 24 to 72 hours.
And most importantly, be honest. You don't have to list every single thing inside, but don't mislead buyers. If they feel like they've been tricked, they won't bid again.
Step 6. Set auction terms and start the bidding. Alright, now for the fun part, setting up your auction. Here's what you'll need to decide. Money bag starting bid. Most sellers start at $10 to $50 to attract more bidders. Higher-end units can start at $100 plus. Hourglass not done auction duration. Typically, auctions last between 3 to 7 days. A longer auction means more bidders have time to find it. Round pushpin pickup terms. Make sure you give buyers a deadline to clear out the unit, usually within 24 to 72 hours.
And another pro tip, consider no reserve auctions. This means bidding starts at $1, which can create a bidding frenzy and drive up the final price.
Once you've set everything up, double-check your listing, hit publish, and boom, you're live. Now all you have to do is wait for the bids to roll in.
That's it. With just a few simple steps, you're now a Storage Treasures seller, and you're ready to start making money auctioning off storage units.
Coming up next, we're diving into how to price your units, maximize your profits, and handle buyer pickups like a pro. Stay tuned. This is where the real money-making strategies come in. All right, let's dive deeper into the money talk. Setting the right price for your storage unit auction is both an art and a science. You don't want to scare off bidders by starting too high, and you don't want to undersell a valuable collection by starting too low. Here's how you can strike that perfect balance.
1. Research and market analysis.
First, do your homework. Spend some time browsing similar auctions on Storage Treasures to see what other sellers are doing. Look for units with comparable inventory, whether that's vintage electronics, designer collectibles, or estate cleanouts. Notice their starting bids and final sale prices. If you've auctioned before or have some historical data from peers, use that insight to set a realistic starting point. For instance, if similar units have typically sold for around $200, starting at a modest level like $10 to $50 can spark a bidding war that drives the final price higher.
And don't forget to think about your target audience. If your auction is likely to attract resellers hunting for bulk deals, a low entry point can be a real magnet for competitive bidding. It's all about creating a sense of opportunity right from the start. 2. Starting bid and auction format.
Many successful sellers opt for a low starting bid, sometimes as low as $10 or even a no-reserve auction that begins at $1. This approach lowers the entry barrier, drawing in more bidders and setting the stage for a bidding frenzy.
But if your unit boasts high-end items like premium electronics or rare collectibles, you might want to set a higher starting bid, say between $100 and $200, to signal quality. This way, you filter in serious buyers who appreciate the premium value of your inventory.
Remember, with no-reserve auctions, the market sets the price entirely. That's why it's crucial to back up your starting bid with excellent photos and a clear, honest description that highlights the value of every item in the unit.
3. Psychological pricing tactics.
Let's talk psychology. One key tactic is price anchoring. When you showcase high-ticket items or exclusive finds in your photos and description, you create an anchor in the bidder's mind. Even if the auction starts low, those high-value items remind buyers of the unit's true worth.
Absolutely. And you can also use scarcity and urgency to your advantage. Emphasize that this auction is a one-time opportunity with a limited clean-out period. That urgency can nudge bidders to act quickly and decisively.
Plus, the more detailed and transparent you are in your listing brands, model numbers, and condition details, the more confident buyers feel. Confidence leads to more aggressive bidding.
4. Timing and auction length. Timing is everything. Most sellers find that a 7 to 10-day auction period works best. This time frame gives the word a chance to spread and allows bidders from various locations to participate.
Exactly, and make sure to schedule the auction's end when you're available to answer last-minute questions. Ending the auction during peak online activity, like evenings or weekends for local buyers, can create a burst of final bids that really boosts the final sale price. 5. Adjusting mid-auction and post-auction strategy. Once your auction is live, keep a close eye on the bidding activity. Engage with potential buyers by answering questions and, if needed, updating the listing. Sometimes a well-timed clarification can push a hesitant bidder to raise their bid.
And if the final bid doesn't meet your expectations, Storage Treasures offers options, like canceling the auction before it finalizes, though there's a small cancellation fee. Consider this your safety net if you feel the market hasn't fully appreciated the value of your inventory.
Every auction is a learning opportunity. After your sale, review the bidding patterns and any feedback. Use those insights to fine-tune your pricing strategy for your next auction. The more you learn, the better you'll be at maximizing profits.
That's right. By combining solid market research, smart starting bids, psychological pricing tactics, and proactive auction management, you're setting yourself up for success. Every detail matters when you're turning a storage unit full of goods into a cash machine.
We don't care about the rules, so we'll break it. We don't care, no, we don't stop until the rules start shaking. No, we don't stop, no, we don't care about what people say.
Now that your auction is live, the real work begins, managing the auction and finalizing the sale. It's not just about posting great photos and a killer description. You have to stay on top of the process until the sale is complete. First things first, monitor your auction daily. Check for any new bids and, more importantly, respond promptly to bidder questions. Buyers might ask for clarifications about specific items or details of the storage unit, so being responsive builds trust and encourages active bidding.
Exactly. And don't be shy about updating your listing if something changes, or if you need to add additional photos. Sometimes, a quick update on an item's condition or additional details can prevent misunderstandings later on. Plus, consider promoting your auction on reseller forums or Facebook groups to attract more eyes. Wider exposure often means more competitive bidding. When the auction finally ends, the highest bidder wins automatically. Storage Treasures handles the payment process by charging the buyer's credit card upfront for Storage Treasures fees. Once that's done, you and the buyer will each receive a paid invoice via email.
That paid invoice is your roadmap. It contains all the essential details, both your contact information and the buyer's, along with the auction details and the total amount due at the facility. Print it out, because you'll need to have it on hand during the final transaction. Here's how to complete the sale once the auction is over. Contact the buyer immediately. Call the buyer as soon as you receive the paid invoice. Set up an appointment to meet outside the storage facility. Remember, buyers should never meet inside the facility. Confirm the buyer's vehicle details and remind them to bring the exact cash for the total due at facility and any additional cleaning deposit, if applicable. Verify buyer identity and collect payment. At the meeting point, ask for a photo ID to ensure that the name matches what's on the invoice. Collect the cash payment and, if a cleaning deposit is required, explain that it will be refunded immediately once the unit is emptied and broom swept. Escort and document the unit. Walk with the buyer to the storage unit. When you open the unit, do it in the buyer's presence. This is key for transparency. Take time to document the unit before the buyer starts cleaning out. Snap clear photos of the entire unit and any items that stand out. This documentation is critical to protect you in case any disputes arise later. Supervise the cleanout. You must stay with the buyer while they clear out the unit. Never leave them unattended on the facility grounds. If multiple trips are necessary, escort them back every time they return. Remind the buyer not to request or use a gate code at any time. Refund the cleaning deposit. Once the unit is completely emptied and meets the required condition, broom swept, immediately refund the cleaning deposit in cash. Confirm the sale completion. Finally, escort the buyer off the facility grounds and close out the transaction. Update your records and, if needed, log the sale in your auction management system.
And if the buyer's payment ever encounters a hiccup, for example, if their credit card for the Storage Treasures fee is declined, you'll receive an unpaid invoice instead. In that case, don't rush. Contact the buyer to ask them to update their payment details. Storage Treasures has a 24-hour window for this. If the issue isn't resolved in time, you might even have the option to offer the unit to the next highest bidder. That's why it's essential to stay on top of your invoice status and follow up as soon as you see any issues.
One more tip. Always document the unit before and after the buyer takes possession. These photos can be your safeguard if any disputes about the unit's condition arise later. And always set a clear deadline for the buyer to pick up the items. If they don't meet the deadline, you can relist the unit to avoid having inventory just sit unsold.
Remember, the sale is between you and the buyer. Storage Treasures is just the platform facilitating the transaction. Keeping clear, written records and staying engaged throughout the process will protect you and help ensure a smooth, professional sale.
By actively managing your auction and finalizing sales with these steps, you're not just selling a storage unit. You're building your reputation as a reliable and professional seller. That reputation is what keeps the bidding wars coming and your profits growing.
Can't worry about tomorrow. Ain't got no time to borrow.
Before we call it a wrap on our episode, it's crucial to dig even deeper into the legal and logistical details. When you're selling your storage unit as a private seller, there's a lot more on the line than just the profit. You need to protect yourself, your reputation, and your buyer by strictly following all the rules. Let's start at the very beginning, the facility. Your storage unit must be located at an approved rented facility, not a garage, shed, or any residential property. The unit must remain locked when the auction is posted and only be opened when the buyer arrives. This isn't just a guideline, it's a requirement to maintain security and ensure you're operating within Storage Treasure's rules.
And don't forget, you must obtain explicit approval from the facility manager or staff before posting your auction. This approval confirms that the facility is comfortable with a non-tenant buyer coming onto the property. Without that green light, you risk having your auction canceled and potentially facing penalties. This step is non-negotiable.
Moving on to what you can and cannot sell. There are strict legal guidelines regarding the types of items allowed in a private seller auction. For example, you must never include personal documents, identification, legal papers, or medical records. If you accidentally include any of these, you're not only violating Storage Treasure's rules, but could also face legal issues. Always set aside any sensitive documents before listing your unit.
In addition, double-check local regulations. While Storage Treasures provides a robust set of policies, local laws may impose additional restrictions on certain items or business practices. If you're ever unsure, it's a smart move to consult legal counsel. This extra step safeguards you against unforeseen complications and keeps your business operating above board.
Now let's talk money, but not just the sale. For individual private sellers, charging sales tax isn't permitted. If you're operating as a resale business, you can add sales tax. However, that's only allowed if you've submitted the proper tax permit to Storage Treasures before you post your auction. Failure to do so may result in the removal of any tax charge and even reclassification of your account status.
And remember, you need a valid credit card on file with Storage Treasures at all times. This card is used to cover any cancellation fees or disputes that might arise. Having that payment method in place is part of the trust-building process between you, the platform, and your buyers.
When it's time to finalize the sale, the safety of both you and the buyer comes first. Meet the buyer outside the storage facility. Never allow them to enter the property alone. The facility is not a part of the transaction, and you must always be present to escort them. This practice prevents any potential issues and reinforces that the auction is strictly between you and the buyer.
Absolutely. During the handoff, verify the buyer's identity by checking their photo ID against the details on the invoice. It's also vital to document the condition of the unit both before and after the transaction. Take clear photos and note any discrepancies. This documentation serves as your protection in case any disputes arise about the condition of the inventory later on.
Communication is your best friend in any business transaction. From the moment you secure facility approval to the final step of escorting the buyer off the property, document every interaction. Keep a detailed record of phone calls, emails, and even text messages. This paper trail not only builds trust with your buyers, but also acts as evidence should any legal or payment disputes occur.
That's right. In case a dispute arises, say, if a buyer claims that the unit wasn't as described, these records and photos are invaluable. They show that you adhered to all guidelines and took every precaution to ensure a transparent, honest transaction. It's also important to clearly communicate any deadlines for pickup and conditions for a clean-out, so there's no confusion about your responsibilities.
Keep in mind, non-compliance can have serious consequences. If you violate the rules, whether by including prohibited items, failing to secure facility approval, or mishandling the sale, you risk having your auction canceled, your account suspended, or even facing legal action. These rules aren't just bureaucratic red tape. They're in place to protect everyone involved.
On the flip side, following these best practices builds your reputation as a reliable seller. Buyers appreciate clear communication, transparent processes, and professional conduct. Over time, this reputation can lead to more auctions, higher bids, and ultimately, increased profits. It's all about creating a win-win scenario for you and your buyers.
So to recap, always use an approved facility, strictly adhere to legal guidelines regarding items and documentation, secure necessary approvals, and communicate clearly throughout the process. Taking these steps not only safeguards you legally, but also builds trust and credibility in the resale community.
Exactly. When you nail the legal and logistical details, you're setting yourself and your auctions up for long-term success. It's not just about making a sale. It's about running a professional operation that stands the test of time.
Can't worry about tomorrow. Ain't got no time to borrow.
Welcome back, resellers. It's time for our Q&A segment, where we answer some of your most pressing questions about running storage unit auctions as a private seller on storagetreasures.com. Let's jump right in.
Question 1. How do I get facility approval for my auction? This is a common one. Before posting your auction, you must secure approval from the facility manager. Reach out to them directly and explain that you're planning to run a private seller auction. Make sure they understand that a non-tenant buyer will be entering the facility solely for picking up the unit contents. Without their explicit consent, you risk having your auction canceled. Storage Treasures even requires this step to keep everything above board.
Exactly. Think of it as a safeguard that protects both you and the facility. Once you have that approval, make sure it's documented. Email confirmation works great. Question 2. What items are prohibited in my auction? Great question. Legally, you can't include personal items such as IDs, legal documents, or medical records in your auction. These are off limits for privacy and legal reasons. In addition, Storage Treasures has a list of prohibited items which you should review before posting. Always double-check your unit's inventory and remove any items that could put you in hot water. For more details, check out the Storage Treasures private seller rules.
Staying compliant not only protects you legally, it also builds trust with buyers who know you're running a professional auction. Question 3. How do I decide on the best starting bid? Deciding on your starting bid is both an art and a science. First, do your homework. Look at similar auctions on Storage Treasures to see what others are doing. If comparable units are selling for around $200, you might set your starting bid low, say $10 to $50, to generate interest and encourage bidding wars. This low entry point can create momentum, and competitive bidding can drive the final price up.
And if your unit includes premium or high-ticket items, you might consider a higher starting bid. The key is to balance attracting a large number of bidders with reflecting the true value of your inventory. Question 4. What should I do if the buyer's payment fails or their credit card declines? If you encounter a payment issue, you'll receive an unpaid invoice instead of a paid invoice. In that case, your first step is to contact the buyer immediately and ask them to update their payment details. Storage Treasures provides a 24-hour window for buyers to resolve the issue. If the problem isn't fixed within that time, you may have the option to offer the unit to the next highest bidder.
Exactly. The key is to stay proactive. Monitor your invoice status regularly, and don't hesitate to reach out to customer support if needed. This keeps the transaction moving smoothly and ensures you aren't left waiting indefinitely. Question 5. How important is documentation throughout the auction process? Documentation is critical. Take clear photos of your unit before the auction, when handing it off to the buyer, and after the clean-out. Keep records of all communications with both the facility and the buyer. This creates a paper trail that can protect you if any disputes arise later about the condition of the items or the transaction process.
It's all about transparency and protection. Detailed documentation reassures buyers and demonstrates that you're a professional, reliable seller. That wraps up our Q&A for today. We hope these answers help you feel more confident about navigating the auction process on storagetreasures.com.
Remember, whether it's facility approvals, pricing strategies, or handling payment issues, every detail counts. Keep those questions coming, and we'll tackle them in future episodes. Before we go, we want to take a moment to thank our amazing sponsor, Infinia Academy. They've been a huge supporter of the reseller revolution, and we couldn't do this without them.
That's right. Infinia Academy offers incredible resources and training for resellers at all levels, helping you sharpen your skills and grow your business.
Don't forget to subscribe to the Reseller Nation Network. Hit the bell icon for new Reseller Revolution episodes as they're released. Hit the like button and drop a comment or a question.
Thank you for joining us on Reseller Revolution. Until next time, keep dreaming big
And hustling smart.
and remember, fam.
It's all money.